Today's episode follows naturally from the previous one, where we focused on the so-called side-out or attack. Today we turn the page and move to defense, because in volleyball it is simple. One team attacks, the other defends, and as soon as the defending team keeps the ball in play, it prepares for a counterattack, while the former attacker must quickly transition into defense.
But there is not just one type of defense. Everything depends on the situation from which the opponent attacks, and the defense adjusts accordingly. The symbols we used in the previous episode will help us again, only now we will view them through the eyes of defense. A hashtag represents our defense against an attack after an ideal reception. A plus indicates a reception that is not perfect, but still allows combinations. An exclamation mark signals that the opponent is no longer very threatening. And a minus means the opponent is limited to an attack from a high set.
We therefore transfer team defense directly into training. We choose the situation we want to practice and get to work. And when we do not have 12 players available, or when we want to increase the intensity of training, one half of the court is often enough.
There are hundreds of such training situations. We simply need to gradually create an opponent so that the situation remains unpredictable. We can isolate smaller parts of the game with fewer players and not rely on always having 12 people available. Looking at individual players, we can see that defense is not only the actual dig, but also a great deal of subtle work beforehand. And it does not end with the first contact. It continues through the second and third contacts. This brings us back for a moment to previous episodes, where we focused on the individual player. For example, when we discussed the correct timing of the split step in defensive digging. Defense is not determined only by the quality of the opponent's reception, but also by whether we defend with a single block, double block, or triple block. We begin with the single block and examine when the defense succeeded, when it failed, and whether it was successful through blocking or digging.
The most common defensive system, however, is the double block. We immediately see that even a less than perfectly compact double block can succeed. We also see a trio of defenders grouped along the diagonal who may not have touched the ball but still did their initial job correctly. Such is the nature of defense, a great deal of hard work that often goes unnoticed. The spectator sees the end of the rally, the coach should also see everything that happened before it.
Or take this example. The defense did not succeed, but the double commitment and the help from the outside blocker against the middle attack were tactically excellent. On the other hand, here there should at least have been an attempt at a double block. This time, there is no praise.
A fundamental question in defensive training is this: do we practice only the first phase, meaning defending the opponent's attack, or do we also train the transition into counterattack? In the first case, the drill ends with the second contact after the defensive play. Continuing the rally would take away both time and focus. Therefore, in this type of training, everything ends with the second contact or with catching the ball.
And once again, let us notice the subtle work in the backcourt. The libero of the Czech under-16 national team demonstrates an excellent adjustment of position, movement pattern, and final defensive stance. A well-deserved thumbs up, even though he never touched the ball.
Volleyball is not football, where sometimes a good result can simply be defended. Here, every defensive action must grow into a counterattack. Otherwise, it loses its purpose. That is why we train it in many different forms. And here we see the libero mentioned earlier, who plays as an outside hitter in domestic competitions. This time, his diligent and largely unnoticed movement in defense pays off with a successful play that keeps the rally alive.
With that play, he set the entire rally cycle in motion, where attack, defense, and counterattack constantly alternate. And where else could we confirm all of this than with the current world champions, Italy, who stand above the rest precisely in defense and counterattack. On the road to that level of mastery, however, we must pass through a sea of mistakes and misunderstandings. Take this example. A counterattack should have followed, but due to a misunderstanding, the point went to the opponent instead. Fortunately, only in training. Then come situations involving a triple block. Here we should appreciate the blockers, who correctly read the opponent's poor reception and adjusted their positioning in time, as well as the excellent court positioning of the defender behind the triple block.
And once again, we can break team defense down into the work of smaller groups. The Italians, with their flexible defensive system, even challenged traditional ideas about who should play where. Meanwhile, Milan Monique led the Czech defensive line to success at the last World Championship. From the game itself, we can isolate the block as well. And suddenly, we are back at the fundamentals of training 14-year-olds.
When watching the outstanding Polish team, we once again move from team defense to small groups, and finally, to the individual player. We are reminded why we wanted goalkeeper-like behavior in 13-year-olds when digging. Why we used resistance bands, and why we emphasize proper footwork. In the world champions from Italy, we see how far such foundations can take a player.
And the block, the foundation of defense, we all started somewhere, remember? So we have completed an episode about defense, or rather about the endless cycle of attack, defense, and counterattack. We wanted to show that when analyzing the game, we must see the team, the smaller groups such as blockers and backcourt defenders, and finally the individual who makes the decisive play. And because preparing for that takes a lifetime, success alternates with failure. And that is exactly why sport is so beautiful. We began with masters and end with apprentices, so that we can clearly see where the journey begins and where it leads.